WWE's Day 1 pay-per-view is in the books, and we have a shocking ending to that pay-per-view. We're going to get into the details, what the original plan was for that match, and what we could see coming down the road leading into the Royal Rumble. Let's get into the episode right now. There's a new WWE Champion. His name is Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar was added to the main event match. It was a fatal 4-way turned into a fatal 5-way where Roman Reigns on the Universal Championship side, he announced before the show that he has COVID and that he will not be at the Day 1 pay-per-view. This led to WWE adding Brock Lesnar into the main event match for the WWE Championship. So just pushing aside his whole feud and everything with Roman Reigns, to take on Big E and Bob Lashley, Kevin Owens, Seth Rollins, all in that match for the WWE title. That match itself, overall, everybody, go watch it if you haven't already. Great match, tons of fun, great spots in there. But we did see Brock Lesnar walk out with the WWE Championship. I didn't see this coming. I mean, we didn't see it coming because we didn't know what the match was going to be. We didn't know that Brock was going to be added to the match. But I think it's really, really interesting now with Brock Lesnar holding the WWE Championship now going into the Royal Rumble, and you gotta figure he's holding on to that title all the way to WrestleMania. What I'm very curious about, what I want to know from all of you, is what do you think about the dynamics with Roman Reigns, Paul Heyman, as he was fired by Roman Reigns, and is Paul Heyman going to show up on Monday Night Raw to confront Brock, to team up with Brock on the Raw side of things? The original plans for the match itself, this was leaked by Fox themselves on Twitter, posting that the match results originally were going to be Big E defeating Bob Lashley to retain the WWE Championship, which really makes me wonder, was Brock originally going to win the Universal title against Roman Reigns? They went with the big shock finish. They completely changed all of their plans, and frankly, this is when I find WWE does well, is when their backs are against the wall, kind of, and they have to change their plans kind of on the fly, and this is when they tend to put in some good creative and actually get us asking questions, and they do pop that big shock moment, right? It's what they're going to do next that's very interesting. I'm sad to see that Big E is not going to be WWE Champion going into the Royal Rumble. I think that creatively, they didn't do enough for Big E. They didn't give him his dues, and they could have done so much more. And I think even a feud between Big E and Lashley leading through the Royal Rumble would have been a lot of fun. I hope Big E can still be in the title picture in some capacity, but I don't feel at this time that's the direction they want to go in now that Brock is the champ. The other thing, everybody, that I really I'm kind of optimistic about this, and what I do kind of like and where I see WWE going with this is that on the USA Network, you got Raw, and now you have Brock Lesnar as your champion. And over on Fox, on SmackDown, you got Roman Reigns as the champion over there. And you have the two biggest stars, arguably, in WWE. You got the most money and the most eyeballs on it, representing both brands. That's a good move for the networks. That's a good move for WWE as you're going into WrestleMania season. This opens up the floodgates for what we could potentially see from the main event picture on Raw and SmackDown going into Mania. Watching this last night, my initial reaction after Brock won the title, I immediately thought, okay, are they going to do a unification match at like WrestleMania between Roman and Brock? And I don't know if they would actually go down that route, because if they did, my early prediction would be that Roman wins both titles and they unify everything under Roman Reigns. And then that way you can get Roman Reigns going on SmackDown and Raw, and hopefully help viewership and the numbers there and the ratings by having your unified ultimate champion on both brands. I don't know if I want to see a unification match though, but you guys tell me, do you want to see a unification match between these two at WrestleMania? What I do like is what it opens up for at the Royal Rumble. Now I got my curiosity glasses on, and now I'm very, very interested to know what they will do. My early wish and hope is that Bobby Lashley is going to go ahead and take on Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. And I hope that Bob Lashley wins the Royal Rumble itself. They had a moment between Brock and Bobby Lashley at the end of the Day 1 pay-per-view where they were focusing in on Lashley a lot more. And it makes me think that we are going to see Bobby Lashley step up even further to finally have this kind of dream match between him and Brock that Lashley has said that he's wanted since 2008. And I think it's a big, big money match. Lashley did an incredible job as WWE Champion It was believable. People liked it. I want to see him back in that mix again. I think it really, really works. And I think you could almost have a face versus face. It's just two giant guys that are going to go and fight over the title at WrestleMania. And we have WrestleMania as a 2-night event. So you can kind of get away with Bobby Lashley and Brock being maybe the 1A or 1B title match on the pay-per-view card. It can open up the show. It can end the first night or the second night. It's a great main event that they could have in their back pocket ready to go. We also have Roman Reigns. Now I'm just curious again with the Royal Rumble, who does Reigns take on? You're not going to have Brock or Roman, presumably in the Royal Rumble. They're not going to win it. So we take that out of the equation. Who could we see from the SmackDown side of things that could actually be believable to take on Roman Reigns? The only thing I could think of, everybody, is that they have someone like Lashley fight Brock, and they don't have anybody lined up for Roman. And Roman goes into WrestleMania unopposed, with nobody able to challenge him and nobody worthy of challenging him. And I wonder if they can set it up so that they have Lashley and Brock on night one, and the winner of that match goes on to the unification match night 2 against Roman Reigns. Brock is not going to be around every single week. Now is the time that they're going to utilize him the most. And I think if they're going to utilize Brock, now you go into WrestleMania with him as the champion, big marquee match. And I do kind of think that we could end up with the unification match. I flip-flop on it because I'm just really curious now of what they could do. There's a lot of options on the table. I also think about Edge. I think about Seth Rollins. They can do a lot with the different stars on the roster to build them up, but the problem they have with Roman is not building up enough credible opponents for him to take on. And the Brock story is not over. We don't know how long Roman Reigns is going to be off with COVID. He should be back in time for the Rumble or WrestleMania, but this whole Paul Heyman, Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar story they are telling, it's not over. It's just paused right now. And this can lead to some very interesting TV with Paul Heyman on Raw. Roman Reigns, when he does make his return, he might just cross over and start fighting Brock on Raw, or he's just going to be on SmackDown cutting promos that no one can challenge him. It's making for a very interesting Rumble and a very interesting WrestleMania, unless they're going to just completely go down the path of a unification match, or they're going to just basically dump it in front of us that Bobby Lashley is going to be the one to take on Brock Lesnar. But a lot of moving pieces makes it exciting. It makes us interested to see what's going to happen. Let me know in the comments below, what did you guys think about day one as the pay-per-view overall, the main event scene specifically? Where do you think they're going to go with Brock and Roman and Paul Heyman? The story's not over, like I said. And I'm actually very curious to see what they're going to end up doing. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next episode. Peace!